Hi, everybody. This is Will Detmering, the Porcupine Pundit. Welcome to another edition of Liberty on Caffeine. I would really like to welcome you to an interesting show today. I don't know when Jeff's going to be able to jump on. We just want to tell a little bit about the background and the housekeeping that's going on. We have changed from using StreamYard, and we're experimenting with a new application called Melon. It's a open source application. It's a little less expensive, so we don't have quite the horns and whistles, and there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve that goes along with this. So bear with us as we try to go with this. It seems like a wonderful application. I think they're going to develop it and continue it to be fantastic. But that being said, last night I loaded up our PSA videos, our intro video, and I started it up today and they're gone. And so I'm trying to load it up. We're having some difficulties with that. So you're not going to have our typical Liberty on Caffeine intro. Also, we've had a few other things that have happened. Usually I have this one taken care of and so on. She's been having some health issues, as you can tell. She's been going into work with me too. She had a scratch on her eye. She's had some eye problems. We've been giving her drops and so on. Many of my friends know that she has had problems with having seizures, so I have to constantly give her seizure medicines starting at 6 a.m., 10, 2, and then 10 at night. So that's why she's also been prompted to come in at work with me, or me taking off from work to come in, take care of her, and then dash out. She gets a little whiny. I hoped that she would be okay for this broadcast. I'm sure she will. Just bear with us if you can. Another thing that we don't have is I don't have a little chat window on the side with Melon that I did have with the StreamYard app. So every once in a while, I'll be looking at the cell phone, trying to keep up with what's going on. Let's see here. Bear with me. I have a bunch of things that have just come through, but I don't think they're anything that's too detrimental. And again, I was going to say my cohort, my partner in crime, has been delayed, so he won't be. Here he is now. Jeff, how are you doing? Let's get you in here. There we go, my friend. How are you doing, buddy?
Great. How are you today?
Oh, pretty good. It's been one of those days, like we said. It's had its issues ever since about 5:30 this morning. I've jumped into one situation over another. I've got another appointment coming on this afternoon. We've been having some problems getting venues and so on with it. So it's been kind of a stressful day, but none that we can't get over. But I was just going to say to everybody, we've got a very interesting topic today. It's Biden's first foray into his screw-ups. And I took, you sent me, and it was really nice, this grouping of things, of 17 things I've got right here. I think 20 in all of some of the things that he's trying to push through within hours of taking the seat at the desk. And I put together a short video, just listing about 10 of them. So if you bear with us, because we don't have the intro, I'm just going to go ahead and play the well, I don't know if you had a chance to see that stuff scroll through, but um, it looks to me that people are not being, I guess, woken up to and aware of the radical changes that he is doing right now that's wrapped up in the candy coating of being a social sweetheart. What it actually is a real attack on reversing any march toward free market open economy. What is your take on what he has been doing in these few hours that he has gotten to the seat?
My take is that he has abused executive orders to create laws and bypass Congress, um, and that these orders in general are the financial ones are detrimental and the social ones are detrimental. You have to have, fiscal responsibility. I can't go waste money and avoid my bills and responsibilities, and I can't be inefficient with generating income, or I won't have anything to survive on. And the social end, it's really about socialism and taking away our choices and forcing us to accept deviant behavior and immoral acts or immoral beliefs as normal within society.
Yeah.
And I think when you combine these two, it's just a complete recipe for disaster. You're at least fiscally responsible, but you're wasting money socially. You can almost cover it somewhat. But
Yeah.
if you're fiscally irresponsible and wasting money socially, it's complete disaster. It'll never work.
It's like doubling down on disaster.
Correct. Correct. It's there's basically the two parts of society. You have the economic side and you have the social side, the actual physical money and ability to earn a living and have property. Then you have the culture in which the beliefs of the country are kind of practiced or not necessarily made into a law, but
Hmm.
permeated throughout. And what he's introducing is nothing beyond a complete destruction of the culture of America.
Well, it seems to me to be partially antagonistic, to just really poke in the eye of a majority of the country. And I'm not saying a minority or 50%. I'm saying a majority of the country is who he's poking an eye or poking a finger in the eye of. The radical, weird uh, side of the Democratic Party that's pushing these the Green New Deal objectives, these socialism, Marxism objectives, is not even, I would say, doesn't even represent a tenth of what this nation wants to have. It seems to me that they're pandering so much to this group that that's just absolutely insulting.
You would think that's the case, having grown up and been educated differently. But what we're running across today is an inundation of indoctrination through the school systems and media and entertainment industry. Um, I posted something a few days ago. Unfortunately, Facebook has me suspended again. I posted something a few days ago. It was a video from 1968 in an interview with a former Russian. I don't know if he was a politician or I believe he was in the military as a disinformation expert or a psyops,
Sure.
and it basically covered the entire plan as it's unfolding today. Create these laws that are this economic instability and a cultural instability, start riots and so forth. And basically, this is the end game of the socialism that was introduced in our country in the early 1900s.
And
Has
the
progressed to the point now to where when they put Bernie Sanders up for president and he almost won the Democratic ticket, they knew for a fact that this country was at the point where they could continue and advance to the next stage of their plan, basically.
Yeah, and they don't want to stop at just mild socialism, as we saw with the Venezuela tipping its toe into it, and they just absolutely went into the morass of full blown communism and the immediate failure of their country and economy.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the same recipe that they're trying to, and that was just a test, a microcosm of what they wanted to do here. And they're cheering it on, trying to bring it in.
Right. It's being taught in schools that the white European culture is evil and that socialism is great. Well, if you look through history, the socialist countries aren't doing great,
No.
and the ones that were founded on the principles of the Age of Reason are successful still. So, I mean, it's basically a no-brainer that what we're doing today has never worked, and everywhere it's been implemented, the people have suffered.
Well, let's go one by one with some of these things. First thing he did was to, and this is mostly symbolic, is stop construction on the border wall. Their battle cry before was we didn't have the money for a wall. Then their thing was it doesn't work. Well, if it doesn't work, then why worry about ending it? Just continue it. And we've spent 30 times more on foreign aid than we did on our own protection of our southern border. And at the time that he is stopping this or having this order to stop the construction on the border wall, we have a cadre of Guatemalans marching through Mexico. And so Biden has already disenfranchised himself to our neighbors in the South. Mexico is ticked. They're very upset. And again, the mainstream media is silent.
Immigration needs to be controlled. Historically, when the country was young and there was a lot of open land, and there's still plenty of open land, don't get me wrong. It was basically anybody could come in and after X amount of years apply for citizenship. I think it was 12, then 13, 15, 7, varied from time to time. But, let's say Jefferson noted that immigration needed to be controlled so that these influxes of people didn't destroy the unique culture that the United States had established. And he made these remarks because he noted that a lot of the immigrants had settled in their own towns and areas and weren't trying to integrate into the culture. If you had a lot of Germans come over, they would form a German town. Italians would come over and form an Italian town. And so they really weren't integrated. And, that was the biggest concern. Now, our legal immigration system is the largest in the world, allowing 1 million people a year. At least it did 4 or 5 years ago. It may have changed in that time period.
Right.
I think 15% of our population are legal immigrants, and it's designed to allow the most people in as possible without having the negative effects on the culture, economy, and other areas of our country. So by ignoring that, you destroy the balance. Now, my wife was a resident of the United States and had a lot to do before she could even enter the country, background check, physicals, blood drawn to check for diseases and so forth. And even after being admitted, had to be a temporary resident until she proved that she wouldn't be a burden on society. None of this was done to illegal immigrants.
No.
They come across the border with nothing to offer, have a child, the child's now a citizen. They don't qualify for benefits being illegal. Their legal children do. To pay for the birth and the care. And the thing is because they're illegal, that many of them aren't paying taxes on that money.
Yeah.
And none of them have paid into the system before. But as soon as they get across the border with that one citizen child, they're basically opening themselves up to health care for their children and food stamps. And, the thing is, I'm not against people coming here, but have something benefit to offer and come in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is there's so many people wanting to come in that 1 million a year isn't enough. I mean, there's probably billions of people around the world wanting to enter the United States. And if you open that border and say, come on in, what's to stop the billions of people?
Right. That's true. Well, the second thing was and what they call the Muslim travel ban, which there is no Muslim travel ban. There never has been a Muslim travel ban. We have had travel bans through certain countries, and they were very well outlined as to why we were banning travel from some of these countries. Some of them had to do with health checks because of the COVID most recently, and some of them had to do with geopolitical security problems that we were having from some of the people coming in. He's just ad hoc lifting it. Now, this is supposedly someone who cares more about our health than the previous president. He's proving to be an idiot. He doesn't care about our health. He doesn't care about our security, even though he put hundreds of troops into Washington, D.C. for his party, and which was a waste of time, energy, and money for the country. So, I mean, this again was just symbolic. Just a symbolic thing to reach out to the Ian Omars of the wacko world.
Well, what's interesting to note is that Biden and a majority of the liberals who have been in office in the last, 15, 20 years, all supported a wall and limiting immigration at
Hmm.
one point in time. There's several videos of them saying we need a wall, we need security, we need
Right.
uh, to limit access, and then they turn around and do the opposite a few years later. These guys will say and do anything to get that little bit of power and the money and the control that comes along with it. Um, and they really don't care about us or the consequences. And
No.
that's evident in their actions.
Well, and that goes with number three, rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, which has already been shown doesn't help our climate in any way, shape, or form, doesn't help the ecology of the world in any way, shape, or form. And all it does is punish the Northern American economy.
Correct. If I remember correctly, the idea is to reduce our emissions by 25% within a certain period of time.
Hmm.
And at that same time, China has only promised to try to reduce theirs as they continue to go up.
Yes.
And whenever they decide it reaches peak, they promise to try to reduce it yet again. The United States has already done much more than the rest of the world to control um, the amount of
CO2 emissions and everything. Hmm.
yeah, we've reduced our emissions and done all this, and the India and China are the biggest polluters today.
Yeah.
Yeah, per person, we probably consume more, pollute 2.5 times more than per person than they do. But in general, so far as the world doesn't care if we're spending a little more per person if they're producing more in total.
True.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of the climate change in the first place. If you have a major issue that could end life on Earth and you have it broken out separately, call it climate disruption. You can't find the disruption, so you rename it something else. And then eventually, after 3 or 4 renamings, failed computer models, etc., you lump it in with natural climate change, then that's an indication that it's not as dangerous as they'd initially said or continuing to say. If it's something that's going to end the world in 12 years, don't you think it should be recognized differently and handled differently than the natural climate change that occurs?
Hmm. Now, I want people to understand that I have taken each and every one of these signature edicts that he has put out and tried to look at it from perhaps I'm wrong. What is it I'm missing? What is the positive that can come out of this? And I really, each and every one of these things I've looked at does not have, it sounds so good at first. It sounds so good. And when you don't even have to take a hard look at it. You take a brief look at it. You take a little common sense. You take some reason, and you find out how detrimental these things are. Immediately, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I wanted to make a comment on the illegal immigration because you had mentioned it, and it's
Hmm.
something I wanted to say and forgot. We do send millions and millions and millions of dollars in aid to these countries.
Hmm.
Okay, so we're already helping the population and the people. Uh, if they're coming here, then they're actually hurting their cultures. If they're capable and beneficial to our culture, and if they would stay home, they could be capable and beneficial to that one and improve it. I
Hmm.
also don't believe the United States is in a position to be helping other countries when the our country is in such a financial crisis, trillions of dollars in debt. Yeah, if I'm going to help somebody else, I have to take care of myself first so that I'm capable. If the United States wants to help these other countries, we need to take care of ourselves first,
Well,
and then we
Ron
can be
Paul was,
capable of being a little more beneficial to other countries and the rest of the world.
yeah, and Ron Paul was even pointing out years ahead of time about the problem with making ourselves an attractive nuisance to bringing these people in because they have not only the reality of the handouts that they get and the benefits that they get here that they don't receive from the governments of their countries that are pocketing the money that we are sending to them for aid. I mean, this is how it goes. We send money, the politicians there pocket it. It doesn't get down to those people. They hear about how their brethren that have gotten into our country are getting treated and handed out these things. So they abandon their countries. They come to ours and they expect to get these benefits. Some of the stories that they receive and some of the earlier benefits we can't afford, but we're still handing things out, but they get disillusioned. They get upset. They want to retain, some of the things from their old culture, and then they fight back against the existing culture and the existing people that are bailing them out, both in their homelands and while they're here in our home. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating because we're good-hearted people getting kicked in the ass by the people that we're trying to help.
Correct. And the governments that we send the money to certainly don't get it to the people. But the other part of that is that if the government can get their people in our country, then they're going to be sending money back as well to help support the family that didn't make the trip.
Yeah.
So, and in addition to that, let's take, for example, Mexico, being on the southern border and having large, powerful drug cartels. We're sending them $80 million a year or more, and they're doing nothing to curb that because it's beneficial for Mexico.
Well, we know that we're going to go broke, and we're going to go broke fast. We've already hit that downward spike and curve, and
sorry,
now
I had something come up. I'll have to leave and come back in just a minute.
All right, no problem.
Thank you. I'll be right back.
Sure thing. What I was alluding to is that economically, we've already hit that downward curve. We're starting to get down. We're starting to have acceleration into to going down. We're heading not for just from what I understand, a recession. But we're heading into a recession depression that's going to be coming down really hard. Again, who's going to take the blame for it? Not the Marxists who put us in this position. They're going to start pointing at free market capitalism, which we haven't tried for years. We've had just a different type of Marxism, which is called corporatism, that has been pervading our economy for decades. And to illustrate how pervasive the corporatism is in this country, that is why we have these tech giants that are dictating what's going to go on in society. This is why we have these media giants that are permeating the garbage that they're spreading in our society. And the reason why we can't have something to counter and balance these things is because they are so engrossed into buying up the politicians and forcing their will upon the economy to create themselves a mock, what do we call it, a mock control of whatever market segment that they're having in there. These are things that are extremely dangerous. I want everybody to take an economic look at everything that comes down the pipe from all of these things. Don't look at all the society candy-coated social bullshit that's put into it. Look at it from a source of economy. Now, how cruel of a person can you be to say that you love and care about your friends, your neighbors, and your family if you are not going to be able to give them some sort of provision or support or stability? Well, that's exactly what they're trying to put us into the position of right now. And that doesn't show any responsibility. It doesn't show any love It just is the cruelest thing, and that's what Marxism and socialism is. It's just cruelty, and it's cruelty that's masked in the lie of caring, masked in the lie of being equitable. It's masked in the lie of being able to help the underprivileged, and that is what is so sad, that we can't get the message out. The reality of looking at it's what's successful and what works and what doesn't work. They're counting non-citizens in the U.S. in the census again, and this is just signaling to all of those that are coming in that we're going to give them importance and note. We're going to give them benefits and things like that falsely. It's giving them false hope. We're not going to be doing that. These people that are in power have no intentions of doing that. All they want to do is take the masses of the middle class, drive them down into the lower class. They just want to keep the elitist class up there. The Marxists want to create a tiered society, a class society, by having the elitists and then everybody else being nameless, classless. The plebeians, they're nothing without whatever benefit the elitists can dole out to them. It's a control, and that's all it is. And this is a dream that some of these academics have, is that they think that they're the smartest people in the room and they're going to be the ones that are going to be in that elitist class. Well, mark my words, history has proven that that doesn't work. The first thing that these people in power in the Marxist countries do is that they take the smartest and the people that are that have the most talent, the most smarts, all those things, and they kill them because they're a threat. And so essentially these people are building up. I mean, they're making the Lenin mistake is what they're doing. They want us to rejoin the World Health Organization. And again, this global health failure is something that we're going to join in with both hands. It's something that's economically supported by majority of the United States and controlled majority of communist China, so that they can cover up all of the mistakes and the errors that they make, and that have everybody else in the world take care of their responsibilities. The HWO is a complete and utter failure. It really is. It doesn't have the best minds in the WHO. It just has a bunch of political hacks. The 100-day masking is a nationwide face mask and social distance mandate for federal buildings, lands, and federal employees and contractors. Again, smoke and mirrors. These things have been pretty much in effect anyway, but this thing that he's putting in is just making things more difficult for those, and just trying to put the boot on the neck of those that are trying to express that there are better ways to be, protecting yourselves. You can't protect someone else wearing a mask. You can only protect yourself. It doesn't protect others. That's ridiculous. You protect yourself wearing the mask. You don't protect others. That's like, and here's an example. Somebody lets off the mustard gas. I'm going to protect the guy down the street by putting on my mask so he doesn't die from mustard gas. Doesn't make sense. That, again, if you start thinking about it and you use some reason behind it, and it's funny to hear these flowery reasons and explanations that some of these people have about mask mandates and so on that come along, and it's hilarious to hear the gymnastics, the mental gymnastics that they have to go through to make their argument. And the only thing that they can do is take reasoned people and belittle the things that are obvious. Let's see. they're going to continue the pause on the student loan payments until September 30th. Now, again, the original pause and this pause, it doesn't make any difference. We're still suffering. What happens after September 30? We've destroyed the economy. These people can't make any money. Their other bills that are coming due are going to have to go by the wayside if they start continuing to pay off their student loan payments for many of them for degrees that never had a chance of any type of return on investment. I look at this and I'm like, why are you extending this? You're just prolonging the pain. You're not helping it, not in any way, shape, or form. Perhaps what they could have done was to say we can give, instead of giving a stimulus check to those who have loan payments, we can offset the loan payment with stimulus money. And then it brings down the balance of their loan, gives them a little bit of a breather that way. So then when we come out on the other side, they have less of a loan that they have to contend with. Defend Dreamers program for undocumented young Americans. What a bunch of crap. There is no dream. There is no dream for undocumented young Americans. They needed to come in a legal system, but they don't have that. So the next thing we should do is allow them to voluntarily get inducted into the military, continue service, then have a program for those that complete their service to be able to get legalization as Americans. Let them serve the country first and then become part of the country. Challenge Trump's arrest priorities for immigration and custom enforcement. Okay. They're not going to change that. That's what they say they're going to do. What they're actually going to do is amplify them, just like they did under the Obama administration. Let's see. Keep protections for a group of Liberians in the country. Restructure federal. I don't know how that helps anything right there. Restructure federal government coordination to the COVID-19 pandemic. It's already done. We've got the Trump fixed it. He got the numbers down. He got us over the hump. He got the vaccines created. He had a distribution program. They're pretending it didn't exist. They're just going to take his program and reintroduce it and say that he never had one. Mark my words. Again, smoke and mirrors. Strengthen workplace discrimination protections based on sexual orientation and gender identity. What a bunch of crap that is. They aren't unprotected. We already have these in place. You can't discriminate based on sexual orientation. It's already been written down. And those that are flagrant in disrupting the workplace because they want to parade their sexual orientation should be fired, period. No protection. Freezing last-minute Trump administration regulatory actions. No. They're freezing, meaning they're going to unfreeze them. There's no change. They're just going to rename it. They're going to candy coat it and reintroduce it because it worked. Formulate executive branch ethics doctrine. What, so we can be more unethical? Be as ethical as a frickin' Democrat? Give me a break. No wonder they're going after, they're not going after Republicans. I just want to reiterate with people that the Republicans are not the people that they're going after. not even the Trump crazy Republicans. No, the people that they're going after are libertarians, and they've taken Dr. Paul and deplatformed him. They've taken some other prominent libertarians and taken them off, even from Mises Caucus, off of their platforms. So welcome back. I hope everything got straightened away for you.
I apologize again. A little bit of
No,
personal business that came up.
no problem. No, I was just pontificating again about, most of this is just smoke and mirrors. If you look at the wording that they have, they're freezing things, which means they're going to thaw it out later, rename it, and reintroduce it because Trump had it. It was working, and they just don't want to. They don't want to have his fingerprints on it, so they're just going to, keep doing some of the things that he has been enacting, especially at the last minute.
Yeah, that's not a new trick in politics. When George Bush was president, the Democrat Congress filibustered the bills that he introduced for the last several months, and the media was reporting an economic recession. After the elections, Bill Clinton got into office. In January, all of a sudden, the economic recession didn't exist, and they mistakenly reported it. And then all of the bills that got filibustered got passed into law, line item veto, zero balanced budget, et cetera, et cetera. And some were struck down by Supreme Court. But the whole purpose was to keep Bush's name off of the bills that would have benefited the people and take credit for it.
Yeah.
Clinton ran on homosexuals in the military, and a national health care didn't do either. Even though he ran as more of a liberal, the laws that he actually passed were pretty conservative in the long run.
Yeah.
Maybe banking and removing the Glass-Steagall Act wasn't his best choice. But
his second term, though, he deteriorated back into the pressure from his party. Yeah.
You did mention Ron Paul and censorship a while ago, correct?
That's true. Yeah. Ron Paul, Heinz from the Mises Caucus, they had been not just put in time out, they got completely deplatformed. Yeah. It's just, and with no explanation, no reasoning, just against
policy.
Yeah.
Community stand. Well, I'm enjoying a 30-day vacation as well. For my fifth offense with with a notification, but no post, no words, no appeal. And I'm sorry, folks, but if you get hurt by other people's words, then you probably need some mental help, because other people shouldn't be allowed to control your emotions. Okay? Even children are taught that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But if we teach this to children, how is it that a multi-billion-dollar corporation, the government, and all of these other companies can't remember or figure that out? It's mind-blowing to me. The interesting thing about all of this is the way a lot of the censorship came about was the FCC, obviously, and made things illegal to say. And George Carlin decided, well, I'm not going to listen. And he made the 7 words you can't say on TV. And I don't know who, I think it was on the HBO special originally, or stand up, but not not televised on HBO. And a radio station picked this up and was airing it without censoring it, the words that aren't allowed. So the FCC sues them. Taken to the Supreme Court, it's a split decision, 5-4, and because it was on at 2 o'clock and children might hear it, that it was going to be an issue for them. So banning words and people was originally done by government and challenged, almost overturned, and actually exists to protect children from hearing things they shouldn't. This is beyond ridiculous to think adults can't handle information and make determinations for themselves. So when you ban classical literature from school for containing these words, and you can kick somebody's post and the entire thing off of your platform, but the company that kicks you off can say anything they want to you. If I crank up Facebook for 6 months straight, very top pops up a learn more about code with a ding, I can't remove that. But if I say something to somebody that they don't like, then all of a sudden I don't I don't have a voice anymore. I'm not a child. Don't need the censorship.
And I always caution and advise people, figure out what the objective is of your environment. Don't go into an elementary schoolyard and yell obscenities and scream at kids. You know, that's inappropriate. That's not the place to do it. If you're in a group that's trying to recruit and bring people together, don't go into the group and start, calling them names and pointing out fingers. Oh, you're not, that doesn't work. So you've got to use some reason. And I think as adults, we can do that. We're reasonably acceptable in doing this. The ad hoc, I don't like what you're saying, even though you're doing it in your community, in your group. You're preaching to your own choir. I don't like what you're telling them, and your choir is getting too big, and too many people are listening to those things. I'm going to get rid of you. That is what's insane. That is really what's crazy, and
Okay,
that's exactly what's going on.
you called me. I'm more aggressive on social media than I am in real life.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But wait a minute.
all are,
I come from a time pre-internet where you had chat rooms and bulletin board services, and you didn't have censorship.
no,
Even back just 3 or 4 years ago, Yahoo Games existed, where you had, like backgammon players, best in the world, played in those chat rooms,
well,
and they were uncensored and unfiltered.
yeah,
But yet the chat rooms existed for 20 years without any issue.
yeah. I
So
mean, it's where you can't get upset with a minister talking about Christ to his congregation
right.
in his group and say, well, you're not addressing Buddhism, you're not addressing the Muslims, you're not addressing, so therefore it's against our standards, you're out. But you
And
allow other people, because they have smaller congregations, to do the same thing.
yes, yes. And you do realize that being in public and cursing, even with children around, is a First Amendment protected right of free
Exactly.
speech?
Yeah.
So the government can't stop you from cursing in public around children
No.
unless it's the FCC, which for some reason doesn't have to follow the First Amendment because
True.
children might hear it, but they do anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is no reason or basis for this. The idea was to protect children and not to stop adults from having free speech. And unfortunately, SCOTUS screwed up and it hasn't been corrected. And it
Yeah.
may not ever be.
That's true. That is absolutely true. Okay. Well, was there anything else you wanted to really get on to today's show? I know that I'm going to be running up against another appointment coming up here soon.
Basically, I don't know if you covered it or not. I know you covered the XL pipeline being stopped and the issues that the caravan was causing in the south. But Canada's not real happy with us
No.
canceling the pipeline, and so neither of our neighbors is very happy with us right now.
Mm-mm. And it's they don't understand the economic impact it has on Mexico for us to stop the XL pipeline. And they're
And
the ones
Canada,
that are, well, yeah, Canada for sure. People can see that, but they don't understand how much Mexico was looking forward and depending upon that pipeline because of the shorter distances they were going to have traveled. It was going to. There were a lot of things that was going to bring down the prices of petroleum and fuel for their country. And they were looking for economic expansion due to the
lower prices of fuel.
the access of lower prices of fuel in North America. Because people forget Mexico is a North American country, and we've only got the three of us, and they are a huge player. They're upset that we're opening up the floodgates and attracting people to tromp through their country to get to our doors. They're upset with these things. And
And they should be.
Absolutely should be. They absolutely should be.
Mexico is a sovereign country.
Hmm.
And to be honest, Guatemalans couldn't enter Mexico. They had their border secured.
Yeah,
And so I kind of feel like they may be upset but doing a little grandstanding in that area as well, because
true.
if the Guatemalans are in their country and they don't want them to be, they have laws against it.
Yeah, much
Other-
harsher laws than we do, by the way. Yeah,
And they don't mind enforcing them on other people. Why is a big caravan any different?
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
in the end, basically what we have with Biden right now is uh, everything's going to be passed. It doesn't even need a Congress because he can just write it with executive orders. The courts have already proven that they're not going to challenge him because they didn't on the election, and without the need for Congress or working courts. And even if it did go to Congress, you have your 2/3 majority, etc. So we're basically in a dictatorship right now. You're going to see an increase in attacks on people with a different opinion because they are a threat to what they're trying to implement.
Hmm.
And then once it's implemented, the people that helped get it there are going to be the threats. Like Antifa, who's rioting in Oregon against Biden for trying to uh, create some unity. That's their issue, is
Yeah,
unity.
yeah,
So that tells you they're militant, they're dangerous, they want fights, and they've already turned on the hand that feeds them. So what do you think is going to happen to Antifa once the dictatorship is established and solid? They're
true.
a threat then. We're
Yeah,
already going to be gone. Who are they going to turn to?
true, true. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed today's show. We had quite a bit of things to cover. Um, we're looking forward to, again, things to lift up a little bit so we can exercise what we need to do. I know we've had a lot of personal things we've had to do at homes to try getting our things squared away. So it's taken away from us being able to do the quality production that we want to do here at video on Liberty on Caffeine with Porcupine Pundit Productions. So again, go to our website, go to our pages, see if you can support us any way you can. We're trying to be good stewards. We're trying to watch our money so we can get the messages out to you. Again, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. And everybody, tune in again next week, Saturday at 10:30 for Liberty on Caffeine. Take care.